Great. We're going to be starting the diversity, equity, and inclusion panel. So today we're going to be joined by Dr. Halls, who is a professor in geography in the Department of Earth and Ocean Sciences at UNC Wilmington. She studies spatial patterns in barrier islands, tidal creeks, land use, wildlife movement, and more recently, human health. Then we're going to talk with Greer Smith from the WMPO. Did I say that right? Shivers, okay. And she works with WMPO, and it's a regional transportation agency for the Lower Cape Fear River, or the Lower Cape Fear region of North Carolina. They facilitate comprehensive and continuing transportation planning that serves as a basis for the expenditure of all federal transportation funds in the region. And then we're going to move to Tim Mulrooney, who is an associate professor in the Department of Environmental Health, Earth and Geospatial Sciences at North Carolina Central University. His focuses for research are on data development standards and support high quality research in geospatial or geostatistical analysis. Just some general housekeeping items for those of us that are virtual and in the room. Questions are going to be held until the end, so just save them towards the end for us. If you're virtual, make sure your first and last name are correct so that you can get GISP credits. And the session is going to be recorded and will be available on our website in a couple of weeks. So if you want to go back and take a look, feel free. Awesome. Here you go, Joanne.
Thank you so much. And thanks for everybody to attend this afternoon. It's a beautiful day. And I know we all want to get on to the social part of this afternoon. So I'm fortunate enough to be on the board of this wonderful organization. And when we were talking about having this meeting this year, this idea came up to have this panel. I don't know why the slide all of a sudden went forward. I did not touch that slide. But we were discussing the agenda for the meeting, and it came to our sort of in our mindset that maybe we should have a panel discussion about diversity in the GIS workforce and in the GIS community, and how can we embrace or even discuss DEI efforts. You know, let's have that conversation. Should we put together a panel? And unanimously, like instantaneously, the board was like, let's do it. Wasn't even a momentary gap in the conversation. It was like, we got to do this. Joanne, do you want to do it? And I was like, okay. Like, this is, as you just heard my bio, this is not something I'm at all familiar with. I don't know how to talk about it. I don't know how to embrace the idea, except that I'm passionate about it. And I think talking about it is really difficult. And I think just having the conversation is where we need to go, right, in this idea. So when I was putting together the talk and talking about it with these guys on the panel, the idea is for the three of us to put some slides together to get the ball rolling on this panel. I don't know how long these slideshows are going to be with the three of us, but we really want this to be an engagement type of panel. And invite all of you, please, to engage with this conversation today. It's not like a regular conference session where we aren't engaging with each other. So please, it is a panel. I understand the instructions from our moderator are to wait. If you have a burning question, I'm pretty flexible. You can speak up. So just to start the ball rolling on this conversation, many years ago, you can see on this slide, UNCW initiated the Seahawk Respect Compact back in 2008. And I thought it was a no-brainer, like, how did we not already have one of these things? But I thought we would start there. You know, of course, we affirm the dignity of all people and the rest of this compact. And this went, just to give a little background, this is, and to this day, is at every single room on campus. And this was kind of an innovative idea to put this outside of every single room. So every single student who goes into every single classroom would see this. And it's not required or anything, but I think most faculty put this language in every single syllabus, just to set the right tone, to set the right, affirmation of how we want to have a learning environment. How many of you know that there is a GIS code of ethics? I didn't until I looked it up. So I think it's fantastic, right? If you don't know about it or you haven't read it in a while, the main categories are the obligations to society, that we have an obligation to our employer and our funders. We have an obligation to our colleagues in the profession. We have an obligation to individuals in society. I mean, we get paid, so we obviously are obligated to our employers. Those are no-brainers. But this obligation to individuals in society in the GIS Code of Ethics, that's really interesting, right? That was included in there. And within the language are these two that I've highlighted here, which is to call attention to emerging public issues, right? As things come up, we need to be cognizant as GIS professionals, this is in our code of ethics, that if things are emerging in the public arena, it's our responsibility to pay attention to that, right? The second thing that I would like to bring to your attention, right, is that it says we should have attention should be given to underrepresented groups whose diverse backgrounds will add to the strength of our profession. That's important. If we are going to abide by the GIS Code of Ethics, then we need to abide by that statement. It brings us more strength to the profession by having underrepresented people, which I think the literature and the data say that we are vastly underrepresenting people in our profession. Has anybody heard of URGE? I gotcha. It was a gotcha moment. URGE is a group from the geoscience community called Unlearning Racism in Geoscience. There's the URL. The program is to help geoscientists develop policies and programs to improve accessibility, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. It's a new program from January through May 2021. URGE, well, I feel like I am reading the slide, but it guided geoscientists from several universities. This was an intense program that many of us did. It was 4,500 geoscientists, 300 organizations, UNCW included. This time period from January to May, all of these people formed these things called pods. And we had to, you didn't basically get included in this URGE program if you didn't complete the steps. And it was intense. It was a lot of reading. It were weekly assignments, weekly dialogues, it was a lot of effort. And there were some drop-offs, right? When people were too busy, they couldn't do it. But it was a phenomenal learning experience to understand equity issues in geoscience, materials out there that we could bring to the classroom, a huge amount of resources that are out there. You can go to their website, and it helped to get the conversation going. For many of us, we didn't even know how to talk about any of these issues. We didn't know how to speak about the topic, and it made us felt very, very uncomfortable to even stand in front of a group and say, how do we improve diversity in the classroom? We didn't even know how to start there. And this training, don't even want to call it training. It was more just a conversation and talking with experts. And one of my slides says, how do you get started? You talk to experts. And that's what this program helped us do. So I urge you, if this interests you, to go to that website. And you don't have to be doing geoscience, right? It's a lot of other stuff too. So I urge you to get those resources. It was really great. So I'm really fearful of this topic. It's a hard thing for me to talk about. I think it's hard for a lot of people to talk about racism. It's hard to talk about racism in the classroom. It's hard to talk about it at work. And the only thing I've been able to figure out is we need to get help, and we get help with resources. We talk to experts. And I think our goal, and me personally, the goal is simple, to try to foster a more inclusive, anti-racist environment for all students, staff, and faculty at UNCW. It's a really simple goal that I have, and that I hope my department has. It makes me choked up just to talk about it. It's really hard. It's really hard. So I want to tell you a little story. This summer, I did some workshops to help with this kind of thing, and it was with this amazing group of people that don't study anything like I study. You heard my bio is like doing GIS and remote sensing of environments, and nobody in this workshop. It was 5 weeks long, every day. It was really intense. And the workshop was not about this type of dealing with racism, but it was about the history of Wilmington. I don't know if you all know much about the history of Wilmington, but it has a very difficult past. And we have to wrap our heads around it. We have to come to grips with it. And it was a great workshop. And what was not just a learning experience about the history, but what was phenomenal about it was the honesty that was happening with this diverse set of people. And the way that it happened was because we built trust in the room, and people shared stories. And the way that happened was everybody had some time. There was reflection time. There was time to listen. And it built psychological safety every day that got even better and better. And I don't know how to do it. I'm not an expert at building psychological safety in my classrooms, but it worked. These people were amazing, and everybody got choked up during these workshops. We learned a lot about each other, and we learned how to build that safety in the room. So I'm determined to get better at this, but all I can tell you is it does work if you can help build that psychological safety. And there are people that really know how to do it. So I'm no expert at it, but I do know that it's possible. And the trick is to build that psychological safety, to get those connections happening, to get people talking. So that's my advice, is to take it one step at a time to build that psychological safety, and it does help. So some ideas to build some accomplishments, some small steps, right? To include some DEI language in some course syllabi, to use pronouns on Canvas, this learning management system that we use, and on your email profiles. Include environmental and social justice statements on all of our job ads. Collect and maintain demographic information. That's really, I don't know if you guys have tried that. That's really hard. We have a really hard time doing that, because we know we are underrepresented people in our profession, but it's also really hard to keep demographic data. I mean, we all are arguing about the census right now, right? We do know this is really tough to actually do this. To partner with HBCUs on various things, on events such as Geospatial Awareness Week. We did this with Fayetteville State. It was really successful. Implement geo-context modules. These are these things I was talking about, like we did with URGE. Like, if, for example, include a slave trade module in your classes really helps. Identify funding opportunities specifically focused on underrepresented communities. For example, Narcisa Procope and I just received a grant from NASA from their program on equity and environmental justice grant that's going to investigate flooding in chronically underserved areas of New Hanover County. We also just received funding from the Teagle Foundation to develop curriculum that engages students to discuss democracy, history, and geographic patterns across the United States. So I think these are small steps and things that we can do. There are some student resources on campus, things like from the Office of Institutional Diversity and Inclusion, like all of these listed here. Come on. We can develop new GIS curriculum. For example, I'm building a new class called GIS for Equity and Social Justice. There's a variety of great internet things we can pull out and use in new GIS classes that help highlight these things. For example, here's a website that we have for the Wilmington 1898 massacre that has all kinds of really great data on what happened during the massacre. If you all don't know about the Justice 40 initiative, here's a link that shows you that assesses and identifies all communities that are disadvantaged according to the Justice 40 initiative criteria. And that covers the whole United States. There's also a link here to the climate and economic justice tool that you can get to. And there's the map for the 1898 Wilmington massacre, but you can also get to it from this URL right here. And again, you know, more improvements and how to help them is, you know, I like to use this expression, meet them where they are, you know, go out into the community, you know, community engagement is extremely important. So there are lots of grant opportunities with a focus on underrepresented communities. Get out to the primary schools, visit them. The NSF has lots of programs such as the REU program. There's a North Carolina Summer Ventures program, which is awesome. And there's lots of teacher training programs. There's lots of foundation support and other public-private partnership support. And there's this other link for social justice from King County too. I probably should have put that link on the other slide. I apologize for that. There's another GIS page. Here's another program at UNCW called JUST that helps youth unlock their potential that UNCW does in the community. So I just thought I would give you another example of engagement with the community and other partners that we're trying to work with in our community around here to help these endeavors. And then lastly, there's a new program that just got started between UNCW and A&T. It's a faculty development program where it's called the Next Gen Postdoc Fellowship Program, where faculty from both UNCW and A&T are partnering to host faculty from both institutions to do postdocs. And then these postdocs can apply to join tenure track positions to help improve diversity in the faculty. That's it. I think that's it. Yep. Questions? Yes, Alice. Yes. On the Lumbee or? So the question for the online folks, have I personally done any studies on the movement of Native American in North Carolina or any? Yeah. I personally have not, but there are people at UNCW who are experts in the Lumbee Nation. And Pembroke is very heavily involved in that. Yeah, for the experts on that, and Pembroke is has a bunch of experts, but at UNCW, there's some folks in the anthropology department who have been studying that a lot. And there's some great archaeological work being done to look at the history of where their historical places have been that they've found, and they're doing all kinds of archaeological work all along the river. Yeah. Yes, that's really interesting, the tribal movement. I personally don't know anything about all of that, but there are people working on it. That's a really good idea. Yeah, no, Alice, that's a really good question. Let's talk some more about it, and I can connect you with those people. Yeah, that's a great idea.
building diversity. It's what keeps them exposed to being around. Get geography all through school. Most Americans don't get exposed to anything. It's but so my question is there any effort to try and get GIS out geography lower level of school than just social?
Yes.
Sorry.
No, yeah, Jess has a good question. Is there more effort to get more geography in public schools across North Carolina? To my understanding, in high school, it's just AP Human Geography. Maybe other people know if there's anything else, but there's no GIS in it. Is it illegal for me to pass the microphone?
No, that's fine. Just echo the question.
The microphone, please.
ESRI has a big program from K through 12. So if you are interested and you want to take a school up, pilot school, they'll give you software and textbooks. I've done it in the past. I did it from for our schools in Fort Mill and in Charlotte from K through the elementary school. I would just do a little hands-on ArcView workshop and, just show them how to find things. But ESRI really helps. And there are some schools which are doing it. I don't know about North Carolina.
But there
There's
doesn't
no,
seem to be
there's no
there doesn't seem to be an
curriculum.
organization in North Carolina.
Even a school like Science and Math doesn't have it.
Right. Whereas in South Carolina, we had an active program to get geography out of school.
Right, and in North Carolina, now I could be wrong, but in North Carolina, I talked with the folks at our UNCW School of Ed, and in North Carolina, social science teachers are predominantly have degrees in history. Hope.
So there's a group called America View that actually will, in North Carolina, they're actually looking to start a group, but they have to have a professor to actually lead that up. So I've been working with America View through ASPRS to try to get them back. And they do things like giant floor puzzles and explaining what geography is and explaining how the earth works. It is much more geography based than GIS, but it does have a GIS component. It's focused on earth science, but it uses GIS to do some of that.
Online question, yes. You can.
It's the microphone, please. So the question is from Catherine Clifton. She's asking, I'm interested in knowing more about the program in South Carolina. With whom can I be in touch? So I'm not sure who was talking about that, but they could pass their contact information.
All right, my information is really dated, but through the geography department, there used to be an initiative at USC. Sorry, we're both USC alumni, so we talk about it a lot. So there was a program through the geography department jointly with the education department at the university to give elementary and junior high school teachers at least a rudimentary course in this is what geography is. And oh, and we have this thing that has lights and makes maps and all the kids would really like. And so focusing, kind of following up on the ESRI effort, there was somebody trying to promote this to all the teachers in the state. And that would be a nice initiative here. I know in Baltimore, we actually have a charter school, not charter school, focus, what was it when they, like School of the Arts, where they bring, so they have a magnet school, thank you. They have a magnet school that has an ARC license. I'm sorry, I'm Jess Weiss. If they're reaching out, they can hit my personal email, Jess, J, middle initial J, Weiss @gmail.com. Jess, Jess, S like Sam, not F like Frank, middle initial J. Hey, TSA, you'd be amazed how those two letters, you're not getting on the plane. Last name is Weiss, WEISS @gmail.com. And I can give you a card if that helps. Okay, so yeah, it would be nice to get somebody in the Department of Education.
It's also the Geographic Alliance. Yeah. Yes. Can I just pass it?
My name is Jim Mertz, and some other states have programs that are mapping inequality. I know like Illinois and Minnesota, and it's led through higher ed often, and it's volunteer led, but mapping like racial covenants or anything like that. Is there any equivalent program that you know of in North Carolina? No. Okay. Joseph Kursky at Esri.com.
Mhm, It does. Yep. In fact, all primary schools get it for free. So we have visited, my colleagues and I visited the schools every year, but it's hard to keep it going. You know, they don't, the teachers are overwhelmed. There's only so much, they can take on. So it's really hard. Yes. Do you mind if I give you the?
Have you guys thought about doing any kind of like STEM summer camp with it or something? I mean, without the teachers, but you guys would be the ones doing it.
No. So that's a great question. So have you all heard of Summer Ventures? Yeah, so we've done a GIS Summer Ventures that was really successful, but I haven't done it more than once because it's exhausting, but. Oh, great. Yeah, I love Summer Ventures. But it reaches such a small group. We need to get it out to a much bigger audience. Okay. These are all really great ideas, and thank you all for being here and having this awesome conversation and being interested, and all the feedback is really, really awesome.